Arsenal interested in Wolves striker Matheus Cunha. I mean, when you're scoring directly from set pieces, similar vein to us being linked with Douglas Luiz, it makes sense. Obviously, we've got an injury crisis. Bukayo Saka's injured. We don't know if Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, and Leandro Trossard are going to be able to shoulder the burden, really, where Bukayo Saka's concerned. I'm having Cunha. I do think some fans are gassing it, but I like Cunha. He was good against United, to be honest. I know I was running a bit of pants in that regard. But yeah, he's versatile. He's a good dribbler. He's great in tight spaces, pulls out wide. I can understand why Arsenal are linked. Whether Wolves want to let him go, whether Wolves want to let him go for an affordable deal, whether Arsenal are prepared to overpay considering the circumstances with Bukayo Saka and how that potentially ties into what we're doing in the summer, I don't know. Some would say rightly so. I know some of you said on your screen, DG, why do you care about the summer, man? I hear that. I'm with you lot because I'm not saying that I'm disregarding the knock-on effect, but it's all fun and games. Seeing these articles, they're going to do this next summer. We're going to do that next summer. What about the season at play where I don't know how you lot feel about winning a Premier League or a Champions League or an FA Cup or a League Cup? I'm not necessarily optimistic about our chances of silverware beyond the League Cup because we're so far but so close. But we're still technically in at the very least with a shout, and it doesn't feel sustainable, you know, with the existing options of players, really. I think we came into this season with a tiny squad. Mikel Arteta said it the other day, said it in January. We didn't sign difference makers, and there's too many unanswered questions with the greatest of respect. I don't think we have a bad contingent of strikers, but reality is we don't know who's going to do the business. And Mikel Arteta is going to have to find solutions. Obviously, there's no Ben White. Odegaard's going to be missing Saka. That relationship on the right-hand side is killed immediately. The left-hand side presents issues of its own. Boy, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think there's probably about 5 to 6 Arsenal players, 7 at a push, if I stop exaggerating, that haven't had an injury or so and been available for all match days. But this isn't exclusive to Arsenal. This is, really and truly, I always say it, footballers getting injuries is like chefs cutting their hands. So, yeah, man, we should have looked at last season and said, you know what? Keeping our team relatively free of injury was an anomaly for Arsenal. Thank our blessings, but let's make sure that if there is injuries, we're kind of stocked. We were stocked defensively. Boy, you've seen the injuries in it. But moving on, man, Cunha's been aggressively linked with Arsenal, and obviously after that game against United, the links are going to keep going. Arsenal hold an interest in Wolves forward Matheus Cunha, but would face a huge battle landing him during the transfer window while the Brazilian is involved in a fight for survival at the Molineux. It's understood that Arsenal's interest in the 25-year-old was sparked before the injury of Bukayo Saka, who, as we know, owing to a hamstring injury, is going to be out for many weeks. Raheem Sterling's also injured, and it's not funny, but a potential backup option to Saka has been injured at the same time as Saka. You can't even recall Reece Nelson if that was even a thing because he's also injured, and we hope they all get over their injuries, people. Cunha arrived from Atletico Madrid 2 years ago and was signed for 44 million. So naturally, they're going to want to profit on that. Will they take 50? Do they want 60? Do they reckon he's worth 70? Because again, you could argue it's not even necessarily what a footballer is worth. It's what you're able to hustle. And if Arsenal have really had a long-term interest in him, regardless, and prior to Saka's injury, there could be something. Allegedly, he's been on the radar after his form over the last 3 campaigns. And we should probably know about him from his days at Germany if there's any staff still there, because he was there when Reece Nelson was on loan and all of that kind of stuff, people. So yeah, people. In his only full season in the Premier League, he scored 14 goals in all comps, and this season has put in eye-catching performances despite Wolves struggling. With Wolves in the bottom 3 for much of the campaign, they are fighting to preserve their top 5 status. Obviously, Gary O'Neill's been sacked. They got a new man in for an 8th successive season, and are thought to be extremely reluctant to let one of their key players leave in January. Apparently, Cunha has 2 full seasons left on his current terms at Wolves, and the club are looking for him to commit his future for longer after making a positive impact on the team since his arrival from Spain. He was previously at Red Bull Leipzig and Hertha Berlin, and also has played in Switzerland, people. So he's played in Germany, England, Switzerland, Spain. So that also helps with his adaptability. For me, obviously, when you see he's got 2 years left on his deal, a bit like half the players we're linked with, for me, if they can't come and convince him to sign a new deal, they might run it into next season, 2025-26, or they'll probably say, you know what, cool, you made it clear you don't want to sell. We understand you might want to do what Pedro Neto did and join a team that's more likely to win silverware. With the greatest of respect to Wolves, I'm going to keep it moving. So, yeah, again, they're fighting relegation. They let Pedro Neto go in the summer. What message does it send if you didn't replace him? Because I know Wolves fans have been quite critical of their transfer market generally, and you let your star man Cunha leave. I don't know. Goals win games, whether you're trying to stay in the division, whether you're trying to win the Premier League or anything else. And he won the game for United yesterday. Crazy circumstances, you know. Man United was conceded directly from corners twice in the space of a week, it feels like. But anyways, people, it's gone on to say Wolves will be braced for bids in the next transfer windows for the Brazilian international, regardless of their fate this season, and would be in line to make a healthy profit on their initial investment. So again, what do you lot feel where Cunha's concerned? Would you take him at Arsenal? Firstly, would you take him because of the injury to Saka, or would you take him at Arsenal regardless? Do you think he's good? Do you think he's bad? Do you think he's what we need? Let me know all your thoughts. Smash the like button as well. Moving on, people. The Athletic have dropped a piece about Arsenal's potential business. Apparently, we enter 2025 with our attack in need of reinforcing. While the media reports often focus on the prospect of a new centre forward, there are arguably requirements on the flank and in creative midfield too. The question is whether that is an achievable task in January, an awkward market in which many clubs are reluctant to sell, and pardon me, and some players are cautious about moving. Money can overcome most of these obstacles, but Arsenal must weigh up whether they're prepared to potentially overpay in January for someone they are confident on landing in the summer. Are you confident of trying to win some trophies this season, or was Patrice ever right about next season's always a thing? I don't know. Let's skip through a bit of the toss. We know the January market's difficult, people. We know Saka and Sterling are injured. We just need to keep it moving and try and see what positions will they be looking at in Jan. Arsenal are once again open to improving their options at number 9. They are conscious, however, that buying a striker in January could mean significantly overpaying, which I agree. But being devil's advocate, if you want Isaac, if you want, apart from Sesko with a release clause, but if you want the Isaacs and all of these guys of this world, you're gonna have to overpay anyways, whether it's in Jan or the summer. So yeah, I'm not saying Isaac is feasible in January. Apparently, people were also scouring the market for a wide forward to cover for Saka or compete with Martinelli. The club's decision makers know they will probably need to refresh Arsenal's midfield options in 2025 with Jorginho and Partey out of contract. You've got Jorginho out of contract, Partey out of contract, potentially moving on Zinchenko in the summer because he'll have 2 years left on his deal. We should be really reinvesting in the summer. Regardless, we need to do something in January, but we should really be doing something in January because there's a lot more finances to play around with, especially with another year of Champions League and the wage bill being freed up. We know we need to reform. Big up Lewis Skelly and also Ethan for emerging as options in their own capacity. We all know we've got 2 loans already in the Premier League, people. This article has said we can make a loan signing from outside of the Premier League. We cannot make a third one in the Premier League unless there's some plans at this football club to make Pedro Neto or Raheem Sterling's deals permanent, people. So we're not really learning anything. We're expected to continue our attempts to add top emerging UK and global talent, as we should be doing. It is fundamental to Arsenal's model that if they want to continue to invest and improve the squad, they will need to make sales in January, because you can make a case of, regardless of his form, Gabriel Jesus, Trossard, Tomiyasu, if I haven't said his name, Zinchenko, Kivior, who's always linked with moves away. You can, some would even say Martinelli, Zinchenko, as I said. You can make a case of several players, Partey, Jorginho, departing in the summer, or depart, or even if there was offers in January, potentially moving them on. I don't think that's smart, but yeah, it just feels like that's always going on, really and truly, which is true, But who are you really going to sell? Because some of these players that could leave are on big contracts, got a decent amount of time on their deals left. So who knows, people? But we're not learning anything. This is just a lot of touch for what we already know already. Anywho, long-term targets such as Benjamin Sesko and Nico Williams remain of interest, but are not expected to be attainable in mid-season. So scratch off Sesko and Williams, but we probably knew that already. Apparently, we are admirers of Cunha, but once again, this has reiterated what we just read, that buying him mid-season when Wolves are in a relegation race is probably it's improbable. Nothing's impossible, but improbable. One player who could leave permanently is Tierney. As you know, we're not taking out the option to renew Tierney's deal, and if he doesn't leave on a little cut price in January, he'll leave on a free, and it would be quite romantic if he goes back to Celtic. Arsenal may once again field interest in Trossard. The 30-year-old was subject of a deadline day bid from Saudi side El Ittihad in the summer, which they dismissed out of hand. Trossard's suitors are likely to receive a similar response this time. For the remainder of the season, at least, the Belgium remains an important part of Arteta's plans. It doesn't make sense, Lewis Skelly or Ethan going out on loan, so that is a myth, people. Apparently, young Kaba could be a candidate to go on loan. Maldini Kukuri could go out on loan. Apparently, there is loan interest in Tommy Setford, who's arguably the third choice goalkeeper at Arsenal right now. So yeah, man, What is their PSR position? In the summer, Arsenal brought in significant money by selling Smith Rowe, Eddie and Kike and Ramsdale, effectively offsetting their squad building spending. This strengthened their profit and sustainability position and means they have some flexibility to spend in January if the right deal presents itself. That said, they continue to be very mindful of the regulations. Pardon me. In relation to the budget, we don't know. Mikel Arteta, I don't know what your transfer priority would be specifically in January. Ideally, there are ways to get around it. You could sign a striker and then all the others can be wide options. You could sign a wide option and then whoever plays up front plays up front. I don't think we're signing a striker and a winger. We needed a winger anyways. It's obviously been exaggerated a lot more. Not even exaggerated, but it's come to light a lot more because of Saka's injury. I believe the priority, we all probably knew, unless there's a serious deal out there or there's an unknown guy that's going to become a household name. What I mean by that is you're going to buy the Iscos, the Vlahovic's, the Seskos, the Isaacs, the Osimhens, all of these guys before they become household names, if that makes sense to you. If you're going to find a striker under that remit, fair enough. A bit like when we signed Adebayor in January a few years ago. But we all probably expected, if that's not the case, the summer, rightly or wrongly, is where the striker comes in. I believe the priority should be out wide, innit? It has to be with Saka's injury. I mean, it's all fun and games, him coming back at March, and we wish him all the best, but the season could be lost by then. After that, for me personally, I would like an 8, and I would say striker and an 8 are of equal importance, but dream chasing, man. Probably going to sign another defender, man. Arsenal apparently are interested in Marcus Thuram in January, with Mikel Arteta eager to bolster his forward line. I don't believe this. Apparently, he's got 12 goals and 3 assists in 16 league games, people, for Inter as they look to retain their Scudetto or, Serie A title. Liverpool apparently join us in that. I don't believe that, but that's what they're saying, people. That's what they're saying. Apparently, Club Brugge's left back Maxime de Cooper. Arsenal are still looking at him. On the topic of left backs, ironically, Chelsea and Spurs apparently, as well as Arsenal, are to go head to head for this individual. Apparently, Manchester City and Nottingham Forest have also looked at the player. He's labelled as an attack-minded fullback, so you could see why. Maybe, I'm not against it. Apparently, Nico Williams is expected to leave Athletic Club in the summer. Yet, with the January transfer window looming, there are reports of a desperate club lining up to land the Spain international. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Barcelona, PSG have all been credited. It's not going to... PSG apparently the ones trying to buy him in Jan. It's not going to happen in Jan, innit? Weirder things have happened. Apparently, Man United and Arsenal will hold talks with the agent of Barcelona star Dani Olmo. I don't believe this. I just think because Barca have made a mess, that you've all seen the rumors around his registration and all of that, it doesn't make sense. But if there is an opportunity for us to be cheeky and get him on a free transfer and bypass the rules, I'm all for that, people. While the 26-year-old was only signed by Barcelona in the summer from Leipzig, he has a clause in his contract that would allow him to leave for absolutely nothing in January if he cannot be registered in the second half of the campaign. It don't make sense. Like, I don't know how much they spent on him, but they can't just let my man go like that. It don't make sense, really. Manchester City have been linked with Zubimendi. I only mention that because Arsenal always linked with him. Arsenal could break the bank to agree Victor Osimhen deal. Arsenal are monitoring Victor Osimhen for a potential January deal as they plot a box office deal. Really, I don't see that happening, people, if I'm very honest with you, but you never know. We'll face competition for him. He's been linked with United and Chelsea and everyone else again. It feels like we're going full circle. Allegedly, Arsenal have entered the race to sign Bayern Munich defender Alphonso Davies, whose agent is said to be frustrated by the Bundesliga's club's actions in contract negotiations. Sorry, folks. Wouldn't be against him. He's been linked with Liverpool, which that would be a great replacement for Robertson. Been linked with Man United, who in their back three system, they need a fullback that can do that. Real Madrid is Real Madrid. I wouldn't begrudge him wanting to sign for Arsenal. It could be scary down that left-hand side, but we don't know if this is I think everyone will be interested in him, but we don't know if this is legitimate interest, if his agent's playing the game. We don't know, innit, really and truly, with his contract running out. On the topic of players' contracts running out, this is said despite previous reports suggesting something conflicting. Sane is to leave Bayern Munich on a free transfer this summer. Reportedly, he prioritizes Barcelona over a Premier League return despite interest from Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester United. He sees the Camp Nou as his ideal next step. Fair enough, if that's what you want to do. Arsenal are still being linked with Lucien Agorme, forgive me, people, of Sevilla, who's finally found his feet at 22 years of age. Feels like he's been around for a while. Central midfielder. Not against it. Done a video on him a few years ago, as you lot would have seen. I mean, for me, the January one, for obvious reasons, is a techie market. But, we've been caught with our pants down, if I'm honest with you. We knew the areas we needed to address in the summer. Any problems that Arsenal have on and off the field, these are not things that haven't been considered. None of these issues are unique, apart from, if anything, this season, some controversial red cards, but injuries, squad depth, you know, other players not necessarily pulling their weight if players are off form, you know, left hand side, right hand side issues, personnel or skill set in midfield, which we knew what time it was in it. Like, this is not new. In these 15, 16, 17 games, none of these issues are new. So it is what it is. We're just going to have to get on with it, man.
Like